Caden Curry needs to be a playmaker for Ohio State's defense to thrive.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to another Victory Monday right here at Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will discuss how Caden Curry can elevate the Buckeyes defense, as well as what makes him a playmaker. But first, Caden Curry's role in 2025 is going to be the biggest he's ever had since he came to Ohio State a few years ago. This young man has been a backup his entire career, as well as a guy that's been primarily on special teams. But anytime he's on the field, he is a playmaker. He goes out there and makes his presence felt. And this year, as he is going to embark upon a bigger role and be more of a leader than he's ever been at Ohio State, he needs to continue to make his presence felt and to be a playmaker over and over and over again. From blocking punts to getting sacks in key moments of games, Caden Curry can do just that. And if he does, the Buckeyes defense will thrive this year, because Caden Curry is a guy that the Buckeyes have been able to lean on while he hasn't been the leader in the room. I mean, think about it. He's been behind Jack Sawyer and Tuimoloau his entire Buckeye career. Both of those guys were NFL draft picks. One is in Pittsburgh, one's in Indianapolis, and both guys, I think, have an opportunity to be decent rookies this year. Well, when you're behind those two guys, you know your role is not going to be big. It's not going to be large. You're going to have to find a way to fit in and to find a way to make your mark. And Caden Curry has done that. But sometimes when you have a bigger role, it could be very easy to fall into a trap of looking at your newer role, looking around and saying, oh, wait, I'm the older guy in here. Some of these guys may call me their elder. That's a role that I have not been able to be a part of because I've been behind some guys that were NFL players, NFL draft picks. And that could cause somebody to get either a big head or to shrink and to say, man, I'm going to crumble under pressure because I haven't had to fill this role since I was a senior in high school, where there were juniors, sophomores, and maybe you're lucky enough to play with a freshman as well, where you're looking at them and saying, whoa, y'all looking at me. I'm the man. I'm a big man on campus. And for a lot of you guys, a lot of players in high school, they were literally the big man on campus, even if they weighed 250 pounds. And when you look at that in high school, you say, oh, man, like, I know what to do. I've been here for a while. I know the coach. I know the people. I know the surrounding. I know the community very, very well. I've lived here for some people their entire lives. And so it's very easy for some people in high school. It's different in college. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it and say that what Caden Curry did his senior year of high school there at Center Grove High School wasn't big, because it was. But playing at Ohio State is a whole lot different than playing at Center Grove. Center Grove, you may get, 5,000, 5,500. I think you may be lucky to see 6,000 there at the stadium. Okay, great. You can see that many people at a high school football stadium. Ohio Stadium seats 100,000 plus. I don't know the exact, all-time seating capacity record, but I think it's over 105,000 people. That's a lot. So when you're running up there in the shoe, and now instead of being in a backup, you're the man, some people might crumble under pressure. But think about what he's had to go through. You're waiting your turn. You've been there with Larry Johnson the entire time. You have seen Ryan Day evolve as a head coach and even change things in the middle of the year that led to some big-time results. You have been able to be around and to overcome a lot of adversity. So while it's your time with a bigger role, don't let that big role, while you may try to tackle that new spotlight for you with the best you can, don't allow that to take away from what's made you a Buckeye and what's made you a really good player to watch. And I do think this year, I think Caden Curry, who's not expected to start this year, I think the starters are going to be Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Beau Atkinson. However, I do think Caden Curry could be a guy that is pushing K-Jack to be a starter or for a lot of playing time instead of K-Jack and Caden Curry kind of being 60% of the snaps will be K-Jack, 40% will be Curry, or 70 will be K-Jack, 30 will be Curry. I think you could try to get more of a 50-50 split because Caden Curry is going to make an impact anytime he's on the field. One thing I loved about him last year was that he found his mark and found ways to be a key guy in special teams, especially on that punt return or punt block situation where he knows that if he can get enough pressure over and over and over again, while he may not be the guy to block the punt, or maybe nobody blocks the punt, him getting in the punter's face can lead to disaster, can lead to some issues. Continue that same path. Continue the same formula that he's been using the entire time, but also do that no matter what your role is, as far as starter or a backup. But the bigger role for him is also going to be a leader. And if he is the kind of leader this year that could fill in the big old shoes that Tuimoloau and Sawyer left behind, watch out, guys, because that room desperately needs leaders. Desperately. If you look out there and look at the D-line room specifically, you got Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Caden Curry that have played a lot of football in a backup role, more in a backup role than a lot of other guys around the country. However, there aren't many guys behind them that have a whole lot of experience. Now, you bring us some transfers in Beau Atkinson and Logan George, but outside of that, you got Zion Grady, a true freshman, Dominic Hurts, a redshirt freshman, CJ Hicks, who's now in his fourth year at Ohio State, who's playing a totally different position. So now you have a guy in Hicks who you've been around with for quite a long time, but Hicks is now playing at the same position as you, maybe a little bit more versatile than maybe Caden Curry, but it's still the same thing. Adding Joshua Mickens as well, a redshirt sophomore. There are a lot of guys that haven't played any ball. There have been guys that have played a little bit of ball. The guys that have played a lot of ball are outside. They are newcomers to Ohio State, which is why you need guys like Caden Curry that aren't just, they're glue guys. They're guys you can lean on in tough situations. They're guys that can help maintain the culture that Ryan Day has already built at Ohio State. And speaking of culture, we talked about this a few times, but it's worth repeating once again because Caden Curry, along with Caleb Downs and a few other guys that have been around Ohio State for a little bit of time, went to Ryan Day earlier this year and looked up inside the Woody, saw the banner for winning the national championship last year, and said, take that down. Take down the stuff that's around here that is that's being shown off because we won the national championship last year. Because there are guys around here that didn't win a national championship. They don't know what it takes. They don't know what you have to go through, the type of grind you have to endure to win a national championship in the first year of a 12-team playoff, as well as playing 16 games in a college football season. There are a lot of guys around here that don't know anything about that. So take it down. Take it down. No. We're not going to allow them to look up there, get a big head, and say, oh, look what we did last year. We can take a step back. We don't have to go as hard. No. They didn't allow that. And while Caden Curry's playmaking ability needs to be on Front Street all game long, all night long, it's also the part of him being a leader that's going to be big for Ohio State. Because if you have a guy like that right now that's saying, take that down, we are going to make sure these young men know what it means to be a Buckeye and what this culture is all about. That's the kind of leader you can lean on in big moments because he's doing stuff now. He's working hard now so the Buckeyes do big things in the fall. Speaking of doing big things in the fall, what makes Caden Curry a playmaker? I'll tell you what that is next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy? The app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you all for tapping and Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Caden Curry has been one of those guys. It's been a lot of fun to watch. He has been someone that the more you watch him play, the more you get to know him. You're very excited about what he's going to be able to do this year, especially when he was expected to be a starter at Ohio State this year. Then all of a sudden, Ryan Day goes into the portal with Larry Johnson's leadership to find a guy in Beau Atkinson to take Larry Johnson's leadership. It's Larry Johnson's room. Larry Johnson knows the guys out there that he might want to go get. Larry Johnson leads the way. Ryan Day realizes, oh, it's one of them dudes. We got to go get him. And they locked him down. Also, with Logan George coming in, who I don't believe is going to start, I do believe Logan George is going to be a more than worthy backup for Ohio State this year. But back to Caden Curry. Well, Caden Curry's having a different preparation for the year than maybe he thought, where, hey, I'm going to start. Oh, no, I might be a backup. He must be able to be a playmaker. Well, what makes Caden Curry a playmaker? It's something that I saw in him, I think when I saw him play for the first time, I think it was a sophomore season. Homie's motor never stops. Sophomore season of high school, that is. His motor never stops. Doesn't matter if he was playing on the inside or the outside in high school, it never stopped. Over and over and over and over and over again. He's putting pressure on the quarterback, pressure on the guy right in front of him, shedding blockers to make plays. And that translated to college, And while it's translated to college, he is making sure that his mark is being met and felt anytime he's out there. I hit the special teams on purpose because while his role is getting bigger, I don't think his impact on special teams should be taken away because he should always be on special teams. He is one of those guys, especially in college, where your best players are your guys on the field. Your best athletes are on the field in a punt or in a punt return or in a kickoff return. You don't want to have a massive drop-off from a guy who's a starting defensive end and a guy who's a third-string defensive end, but he can get out there on specials to give your starter a breather, even though your starter is the better guy for the role. Put him on out there. It's going to be hard to find a guy at Ohio State that understands the program, but also knows what it takes to make an immediate impact on special teams like Caden Curry. So put that brother out there still. Still leave him out there. Don't take him off the field. But Caden Curry's motor is one of the things that allows him to make an impact. He also knows how to key the right thing when he's on the field, which is easier said than done. Many of you have played sports, no matter if it's at a rec league level or professionally. Many of you have played sports. And one thing we know about whatever sport you're playing, there are certain things you're keying or you're looking at, and you're trying to realize how to make your move based off the things you're watching. And Caden Curry heard this interview went back on the YouTube and talking about the pump block he got against Purdue a year ago. He said, hey, I just focused on my keys. Focused on my keys and made a play. That's not a direct quote, nor is it very easy to do. Now, for some guys, it comes easier than others. But in reality, that's not easy to just go out on the field, see a guy, look at what you're supposed to look at, know what you're reading. Oh, this is a little bit different post-snap versus pre-snap. You're changing what you're looking at. You're changing your key. And the next thing you know, baby, you're there. It's very difficult to do. But while it's difficult for some, he makes it look easy. Because over and over and over and over again, no matter if it's a 3rd and long or 1st and 10, he is right there in the right spot every single time. And with him in special teams previously, I mentioned it, I believe it was last segment, about how he finds ways to make his mark even if he doesn't get his hands on the ball or the person who has the ball in their hand. He just figures out how to be a disruptor, how to get in the face. What can he do to alter the plan of the opposition to make sure that he is in the right area to potentially make a play. Now, on defense this year, it's going to be a little bit, I won't say easy, but it's not Tumaloa or Sawyer where they are focused on the game plan every single week. Because I think early in the year, there are going to be a lot of teams out there that are going to say, this guy's never played this many snaps before. Never. So we may have plans to test him a little bit, but we don't have to focus on Curry or Kenyatta Jackson Jr. as much as we have to focus on Edric Houston and maybe Caden McDonald because they played quite a bit. Or a Caleb Downs. Why? Because he's that dude. He's literally the best defensive player in college football. So early in the year, I would expect for Caden Curry to be a guy that is not only able to make plays and to keep his motor high all day long. Literally, sometimes he energizes the bunny for the Buckeyes, but because Texas is not going to focus on him like that. Other schools, now, I mean, Grambling State, like, you're going to have to focus on him a little bit more because your talent is not up to par to even be competitive with Ohio State. So you have to focus on guys like that. But once you get to Big Ten play, teams aren't going to be focusing on Caden Curry as much. So his production early in the year is one where I would expect him to have more tackles and more sacks than he will later in the year because teams aren't really going to focus on him like that. So when you have a guy that could be a playmaker, especially at defensive end, which isn't a word we normally associate with this position, but it's real. You know, some guys that play defensive end at Ohio State that were playmakers. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Sam Hubbard, Chase Young, Jack Sawyer, Jalen Tuimoloau. What did they do at the defensive end spot? Make plays. They made plays over and over and over again. And as I'm speaking about this right now, two guys that I just named made big plays. They were playmakers against Penn State. One of them was Tuimoloau. I believe all 4 turnovers the Buckeyes had during the 2022 season in the game against Nittany Lions, those were interceptions that Tuimoloau was a part of. Also, Joey Bosa, literally on the last play of the game, pushed the running back right back into the quarterback and caused the sack. Game over. Nick Bosa made a whole lot of plays. Sam Hubbard made plays. Chase Young literally set the single game sack record. I believe it was against Wisconsin in 2019 with 4 for Ohio State, that is. These guys made plays. You know who else made plays at Ohio State? Jack Sawyer. I can think of 2 games. One was a loss, one was a win, where Jack Sawyer made plays. The win was against Texas. 83 yards on the right sideline. I can, in my mind and vision, still remember Ryan Day's look on his face and the way he celebrated with him jumping up in the air, throwing the headset up into the air because, hey, man, we're going to the national championship. Unfortunately, the last game of the regular season last year, Jack Sawyer had the interception. I think it was in the end zone where Gus Johnson almost lost his voice. That's the kind of play it was. But Caden Curry can be the same kind of guy. Will he be a freak athlete like Chase Young? No, I don't think so. Not at all. Will he be as powerful as Joey or Nick Bosa? No. Will he be more of a Sam Hubbard type than a Chase Young type? Yes, absolutely. Which is great. He'll probably be more of a Sam Hubbard type than a Jack Sawyer or Tuimoloau. Yes, I actually think in reality, if Caden Curry were starting, you could see, I almost say similarities to Jack Sawyer because I think they're different players, but I think he would have more of that kind of role where like you're not being asked to be that kind of leader statistically, but you come out there and get a whole lot of things done. Caden Curry is a playmaker, and while his role is getting bigger, being a playmaker is being one of the things he's going to be asked to be, as well as making sure his motor remains high. And all of that ties into why Caden Curry is going to help the Buckeyes defense go to another level this year. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes, of making this show your first listen of the day. Now, when I say Caden Curry is going to help the Buckeyes defense go to another level this year, a lot of you might be saying, Jay, whoa, have you lost your mind? Did you see what the Buckeyes defense did a year ago and how they were one of, if not the best defense in the entire country? I absolutely did. We were here documented it every single day. The Everydayers got a great glimpse about how my mind was viewing the Buckeyes defense. I didn't miss it. So you may be wondering, how are you able to say that he's going to help the Buckeyes defense go to another level? I'm going to ask you a question, and then we'll expound upon it afterwards. When was the last time Ohio State's defense was elite in back-to-back seasons? We can wait a little bit. I don't have to chime in yet. So you in your mind right now have had a little bit of time to think about the last time Ohio State's defense was elite in back-to-back years. And I waited a little bit and wanted to verbally tap dance around that after the question was asked, because a lot of you realize it hasn't been in Ryan Day's era as head coach. No. 2019, yes. 2020, no. 21, 22, 23, absolutely not. 24, yes. So with 24 being yes, and 19 was a yes, but 19 was and even 20 was one of those years where it's like elite. It was a little bit weird. The year was weird. COVID. They weren't sure there was going to be a season, testing and all this stuff. You couldn't practice like normal. You couldn't travel like normal. Like the year was so abnormal for everything. But in reality, Ohio State's defense has an opportunity with the talent on the team to be elite in back-to-back seasons for the first time in a really long time. And Caden Curry can be a guy to do that. Now, his playmaking ability is going to be needed. His leadership is going to be needed, but he's also going to have to be able to fit into his role. Be a role player. I talk about this quite a bit. Whenever a basketball reference comes up, I think about role players, and the first great player that I think about is Shaq. No, Shaq was not a role player, but Shaq is documented talking about why the Lakers were so successful, why the Heat won the championship there in the, was it 06 season? What, no 04? What, no 05? What, no 03? It was the 06 season. My brain used to be so good about like, oh yeah, I could. 07 was the Spurs. 99 was the Spurs. 2000s was the first of the Lakers three-peat. So, like, I could, in the drop of a hat, think about a year, think about a team, really think about a year, and associate that with the team that won the national championship, NBA Finals. What Shaq talks about the role of the others. You can't win a NBA championship or any championship without role players. Think about it. Speaking of Shaq and the Lakers, and I mentioned the year 2000, the Lakers don't get to the finals without Derek Fisher. They don't. The Lakers don't get into the finals without the others. The Heat in 06, they don't get to the finals. Now, Gary Payton was not the star of the team. He was on the back end, the latter years of his superpowers that he used to have, as Reggie Miller called it. What did he ended up being a role player. And what did he do? He was efficient in his role. There are going to be guys on this year's team that are role players, guys that have been 3-year players or 4-year players that won't be starters. They'll be backups. They're going to be needed to be superb in their role for Ohio State's defense to be elite in back-to-back years. And that's where the elevate comes in. Yes, elevating a defense, it sounds good. It sounds good until you realize, what are you elevating from? Or why does the defense need to be elevated? Well, last year was elite, so you want to be better than last year? Well, yes, but wouldn't it just be great to be a top 3 defense in back-to-back years? Yes, that is true, but it would also be even better to have elite defenses in back-to-back years for the first time in a while, mainly the first time in the Ryan Day era. That would be huge. And that would also be great for Ryan Day, a coach that has been under fire, a coach that honestly is more relaxed right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he is during pressers during fall camp. I believe he's going to be relaxed during Big Ten Media Days in, what's that, about a week and a half from now? It's crazy. It's crazy that we're almost right there. The Big Ten Media Days being kicked off. The SEC Media Days are this week. Big 12 Media Days were last week. And it's going to be crazy to look out there and see Ryan Day speaking to the media and representing Ohio State the way that he does. It's going to be crazy to see Caden Curry in his final year at Ohio State, because this young man has played at least 11 games in every year he's been at Ohio State. 13 in 2022, 11 in 23, and then he played in all 16 games a year ago. By the numbers, last year was his best statistical year. 22 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. While those numbers are great, I believe Caden Curry could end the year 35 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 8 TFLs. It wouldn't shock me if he had a fumble recovery and another a fumble recovery, a forced fumble, and then a couple pass breakups. I think Caden Curry can be that kind of guy. As I was reading those numbers off and thinking about the amount of games he's played during his Buckeye career, it's a luxury that Ohio State still has Caden Curry, because Caden Curry could have easily gone to the portal in the spring and realized, well, a role at Ohio State might not be what I thought it was going to be this year, and I can go somewhere else, quickly pick up the defense, quickly pick up my role, be an instant starter, and be someone that can raise his draft stock. Because right now, Caden Curry is one of those guys, like CJ Hicks, that needs a monster 2025 to have a shot to be drafted after the season. Because I don't believe either one of those guys. I'm not trying to, this isn't like breaking news here. CJ Hicks and Caden Curry have not done enough to be elite draft prospects or respected draft prospects. They want to have a shot to play in the National Football League. For CJ Hicks, this is the best move for him to change from being a linebacker, an outside backer, to being on the edge, because you're not playing outside backer in the NFL, because it took him just a little bit too long to pick it up. I say too long because it's not me saying he won't pick it up or he wouldn't have. I just think, based off the way his body of work has been at Ohio State, especially when you have Sonny Styles and Arvo Weiss ahead of him, add in Peyton Pierce, I get why he changed positions. Also, his skill set is ideal for the next level, because there are going to be a lot of NFL teams that are going to be salivating when they see Hicks on the field. It's just salivating, assuming he plays well. I don't know how he's going to play on the edge. I think it's a great move for him, but to sit here and say I can project the number of sacks or tackles for loss that Hicks is going to have, buddy, I can't do it. I don't even know the rotation. Nobody knows Matt Patricia's rotation at Ohio State this year. When you have K-Jack and Curry and Atkinson and George, what are you going to have? 4 guys that are quality players that have earned the right to play. How is Matt Patricia going to work his rotation to get all these guys on the field in the right positions at the right times so the defense can be elite this year? We got to wait and see. No, that answer will not be answered that question will not be answered, excuse me, after the Texas game. Yeah, you get a little glimpse of it during the Texas game. But no, you got to wait 4 or 5 games to really understand Matt Patricia's rotation, how he's going to handle certain things, how he's going to adjust to different offenses, because Texas, the Grambling State, different offense, different flow, different personnel. So maybe Matt Patricia from week 1 to week 2 will have a different way to orchestrate the defense and a different way to orchestrate the playing time. You get in the Big Ten play, it's going to be more physical. There are going to be quarterbacks that might not be the elite passers, but there could be some dual threat options there. And what are you going to find? Matt Patricia is going to change things up according to the team that he's preparing for that particular week. While he's preparing for it, he can lean on Caden Curry. While Curry's role is bigger, that doesn't mean he's not going to be needed to be a playmaker or that he cannot be a playmaker. Homie's motor is always going. While his motor is always going, he's going to need to be a guy that does all the right things and fits into his role so the Buckeyes defense can be elevated in 2025. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes right here on a Victory Monday, because every Monday is a Victory Monday when the last game you played was a national championship that your team won. And making this show your first listen today, for your second listen, check out the portal, because my guy Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the portal on YouTube and Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube as well. And you can find both wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It has been Locked on Buckeyes right here on a Monday. We'll see you next time.